Imagine falling in love and knowing it could cost you everything. Not your time, not your pride, but your freedom, your family, and in some cases, your life. Today, we're stepping into a world where something as natural, as poetic, as deeply human as love wasn't just complicated, it was criminal. And not criminal in a "you cheated on your partner" way, no, but something much more massive than you could imagine. We're talking about cultures where a woman simply speaking to the wrong man could get her dragged before elders, cut off from her family, branded, beaten, or publicly executed. This is the story of how love, especially for women, was something that had to be controlled, bargained, supervised, and carefully traded. Because in many ancient civilizations, love wasn't about emotion, it was about power, property, lineage, and survival. So grab some tea, because this one is going to sting a little. What love actually looked like in ancient times. In ancient times, love was a property, not an emotion. You might get stunned at how I called love a property and not an emotion, but that's true. Today, you marry who you love, but it was never the same for ancient women. For most of human history, marriage had nothing to do with love. It was no more than a mere contract between families. Land, alliances, heirs, labor, political peace, these were the stakes. The woman, she was the guarantee that the deal would hold. A trade to make a deal, a tool to raise generations, and nothing more. Her loyalty wasn't just about faithfulness. Her loyalty protected bloodlines, the most sacred element of family status and power in ancient civilizations. And that's why if a woman fell in love on her own terms, she wasn't seen as romantic, she was seen as dangerous. But why? Because love gives women choice, and choice gives women power. And power, well, that threatened the system. For ancient people, power was only associated with men. For women, power was not even a word in their dictionary. So to keep women away from power, they made laws, strict laws that made love a crime for women. Trust me, you might not be ready to hear these laws out. The laws that made love a crime. Let's travel to ancient Mesopotamia, around 1750 BCE. This is where we find the Code of Hammurabi, one of the earliest written legal systems in history. If you are new to this channel, we have made a separate video on the brutal laws of Hammurabi against women. And trust me, the intensity of these ancient codes, particularly made against women, will give you goosebumps. Getting back to how the Code of Hammurabi worked against women. Among its 282 laws are detailed instructions about relationships. According to his code, if a married woman was accused of adultery, yes, accused, not proven, she could be drowned in a river. The husband could choose to forgive, but the woman herself had no legal voice. The message was clear. A woman's body was evidence. Her love life was a crime scene, and love could literally drown her. Now, let's move to ancient Greece, a civilization we often associate with philosophy, democracy, and art. But for women, life was closer to imprisonment. Athenian women could not walk outside alone, own property independently, or publicly speak in political gatherings. If they did, that was a crime. Their marriages were arranged early, and having feelings for another man wasn't just wrong. It was considered theft of the husband's honor. In Sparta, things were slightly different. Women had more physical freedom and could even own land. But marriage was still designed around producing strong soldiers. Love was unnecessary and actually discouraged. And don't even get me started on Rome. In the Roman Republic, if a husband caught his wife committing adultery, he could legally kill her on the spot. No trial, no witness, no defense. Meanwhile, Roman men could sleep with enslaved women, mistresses and courtesans, with no legal or moral consequences. Because remember, the law wasn't about ethics, it was about control. And whom could they imply it upon? The women. And so they did. The social consequences, the punishment beyond punishment. Ancient women did not only receive legal punishments. In fact, after getting punished by the laws, it was now time for them to get punished by people. And guess what? That was often even worse. If a woman simply looked like she was in love, even if she did nothing, she could be disowned by her family, banished from her community, forced into religious servitude, or sold into slavery. Because once a woman's purity was questioned, her value in the marriage market dropped. And that meant her family lost bargaining power, so families policed their daughters harder than any government did. Love didn't just belong to the woman, it belonged to the family name. And that's how the ancient women lived. A story from ancient India will leave you stunned. Let's step into a story, not a myth, not a legend, but a reality that was common across ancient India, Persia, and many Middle Eastern societies. A young woman, let's call her Mira, is promised to a man twice her age. The marriage is arranged when she is 12. He is from a wealthy family. Her family needs the alliance. But Mira grows up and falls in love with someone else. Not in a dramatic, rebellious way. She simply meets a young man at the well. They talk about the heat, the harvest, and small things. And one day, they laugh, just once. That's all it takes. A neighbor sees. She reports Mira's smile to her mother. The mother tells the father. The father fears shame. And Mira is locked indoors for the next 2 years. No man touched her. No crime occurred. But the possibility of love was already enough to destroy her life. And that's not all. Here is the part that aches. Most women punished for falling in love never even touched the person they loved. Their crime was simply having a heart. Then steps: religion, morality, and control of desire. Many ancient cultures also linked female love to cosmic disorder. In ancient Egypt, a woman who acted on desire outside marriage was believed to bring chaos into the world, disrupting the divine balance. For example, in Confucian China, a woman's virtue defined the honor of her entire lineage. Her love life was a moral duty, not a personal experience. In Babylonian temple cultures, some women were forced into sacred prostitution, while others were punished for engaging in sexual expression privately. The contradictions were dramatic, but the pattern was clear. Men's desire was expected. Women's desire was regulated. That's how unjustified love was. So here's the real question. Why women became the focus of love crimes? Why weren't men punished the same way? Because lineage required certainty. Families needed to know who the father was, who the heir was, which family held the power. A man could have multiple lovers without threatening lineage because his identity didn't change. But a woman's pregnancy could change everything. Love wasn't dangerous because it was emotional. Love was dangerous because it could shift inheritance, bloodline, and political power. So love had to be controlled at the source: the woman. The quiet rebellion. But here's the beautiful part. Women are still loved. They wrote secret poems. They met lovers under moonlight. They carved initials into clay pots. They exchanged songs, shawls, bracelets, glances. Human hearts have never been obedient things. We have so many examples in history. In ancient Japan, women in the high-end court wrote passionate love letters on silk paper scented with incense. In medieval Persia, women used poetry to hide confessions within metaphors of gardens and nightingales. In ancient Arabia before Islam, Bedouin women composed love songs that were whispered across dunes. Love always found a way, even when it was forbidden, even when it was deadly. Because the human heart doesn't evolve at the same pace as law. The legacy still echoes today. Now here's the part that hits home. We carry pieces of these ancient laws into modern cultures. Think honor killings, family interference, public shame, double standards for men and women. These are not new problems. They are ancient ghosts wearing modern clothing. And when a woman is judged for who she loves, how she dresses, or who she chooses, we are watching history repeat itself. Falling in love has always been one of the most human experiences we share. It softens us, changes us, makes us brave, and sometimes reckless. Well, that is a part of love. But the idea that love could be a crime reminds us that freedom, especially emotional freedom, is one of humanity's newest luxuries. Your right to love who you want, when you want, how you want. This is not normal in history, and it was paid for by generations of women who were punished for feeling. That's unfair, but unfortunately, that's how history has it. What are your thoughts about women loving someone? Is it really a crime in a world where it's normal for men? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this episode made you think, feel, or even just appreciate love a little more, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who would love the history behind human hearts. And remember, stories like these remind us that every time we choose love openly, we're rewriting history. See you in the next episode.